when you read books as a child with images that you connect with. Essentially, what you're doing is you're connecting with a bigger power, a power that's bigger than you. And what it does is it stirs up this thing that we call motivation and inspiration inside of you.
Okay.
That thing is a good feeling. It's the thing that makes you want to wake up every day and say, I have purpose and promise. It's the thing that makes you want to wake up every day and be your best and do good. And so those are the kinds of things that we want children to be able to experience, every child.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on Literacy Journeys with Linda. I have as my special guest today the wonderful Julius Anthony. Thank you for joining me, Julius.
Good morning. It is just great to be here. I love your show. And I am going to say I love the one with your mom on it.
Okay.
I love that episode. It was my favorite. Those stories are really important to me because it was that generation that poured a lot into me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
My parents migrated from Alabama in the 40s
Mm-hmm.
to St. Louis. They came to St. Louis as a young couple and had 8 children here. And they became a part of a community that was filled with people who had migrated from the South.
Yeah.
So I just love those stories.
You're a product of your parents instilling in you the importance of literacy.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I don't know a world without books. So I grew up in a household that was always filled with books. I have 7 siblings, and we grew up in sets. So there's an older set of 4. There's one brother that's right in the middle with nobody but himself.
Wow.
And there are 3 of us at the end. And so I am child number 7. And there is 1 child under me.
Okay.
And so the 3 of us at the end, we benefited from our older siblings, and all of them became educators. And my mom was an educator, and my dad was an educator as well, in the sense that in our faith community, he was over our Sunday school.
Okay.
Which was the educational arm of our church and the faith community that we were part of. And so I don't know a household without books. I don't know a world where I never saw my parents reading. They read every day. They were avid readers. If they weren't reading the newspaper, they were reading books. My dad had a vast library, mostly of books around faith and what it meant to be a minister. He mentored a lot of ministers. And then my parents kept us in reading situations. So we had all the books that were published by Dr. Seuss. My sister, who was a school teacher, was the first person that I can remember who introduced me to a piece of Black children's literature. And so she bought me and my brothers a copy of The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. And I was so fascinated with the book. After the first time I read it, I was ready to go outside and make a snow angel.
Yeah.
But I will say the Ezra Jack Keats book that did have an impression on me in terms of Black images was Goggles, because I started wearing glasses in the 4th grade.
Okay.
And to have this book about this little Black boy who had to get glasses, or they found some glasses that they called goggles.
Yeah.
I made a huge connection with that book. And after that, I was always, just really wanted more images of books that look like me.
Now, see, you just said a key word to me, making a connection with the book. And
Yes.
I think that seems to be what fuels your work, so that these Black kids can have images that look like them and make a connection. Tell the audience, Julius, what do you do?
I am the founder and president of St. Louis Black Authors of Children's Literature. We are a consortium of local authors in St. Louis. All of us have published what we define as Black children's literature, which is simply a picture book that targets a grade level between pre-kindergarten and 3rd grade. And that picture book tells stories about the experiences of Black people in this country. And it also has to have images of Black children or Black people, and the protagonist needs to be Black. So that's how we define Black children's literature. There are about 15 of us in this consortium, and we have a catalog of about 35 books. In addition to that, I have a project that's called the Believe Project, where we are building literacy labs throughout the city. And we call them literacy labs because we use those spaces for children to develop the 6 elements of literacy that the International Literacy Association promotes. And so they suggest in order for a person to be fully literate, you have to have definitive skills in listening, seeing or viewing, speaking, visual expression, reading, and writing. All of those things make up a fully literate person. And we know the research that suggests that when children are not fully literate or have not acquired a real agency for literacy by the end of 3rd grade, then they have a harder time in school, and essentially they have a harder time navigating life as an adult. And so our mission is to ensure that all children become confident and competent readers by the end of 3rd grade. That's our marker.
Yes, and we have a steep hill to climb with that. I'm on that mission too, because the stats are horrible.
They
unfortunately, with our kids going into 4th grade, only like a third of them being able to read proficiently.
Yeah. And in some instances, it's even lower than that. So when we look at our region, the St. Louis metropolitan region, 70 to 75% annually fail the state mandated reading exam. So just think about that. 7 children out of every 10 annually fail the state mandated exam at the end of 3rd grade. What's even more challenging about that is in some communities, the fail rate or fail percentage is as high as 80 and 90%. And what else we know about that is that the majority of those children within that percentage score at the very bottom. They score what is considered below basic. That is a problem.
Yes, it definitely is.
That's a problem because that means that we are raising generations of people in this region to not be literate adults. And it's not a new issue. It's an issue that has been going on for generations. We must disrupt that. I know what it's like to attend an elementary school where the majority of the kids leave there not being able to read.
But something happened in your life, Julius, that took you down a path of being literate. And you point to that something as your family.
My family. And I'm going to say this and just be really transparent. It was my family, and in terms of just the core of who I became, because I was reading early. So I went to school reading.
Okay.
And I remember getting mostly A's. I never got a C, definitely didn't get a D or an F, but it was all A's. I might have got a B in gym. But on the academic side, I was good. But here's the thing. If a teacher, or at least the teachers that nurtured me, or the classrooms that I was a part of, and I can say that it probably still is true from what I've seen as a professional, when teachers know that you are the kid that can get the work done or can acquire the skills and the things that they want you to learn, you become the special kid in the classroom. And so that teacher wants you to succeed. They give you extra things. You know, sometimes you can be forgotten in the sense that they spend a lot of time sometimes with the other children. But in my experience, the kids in our classrooms from kindergarten through 8th grade, because I went to a K-8 school, those children, when you came in kindergarten and you were reading, and you went to 1st grade, you were reading, you were always in the high group and never did you come out. Those kids that were in the bottom group were always in the bottom group and never did they come out. And those of us that were in the top group, we got special treatment. We got to do special things. We got to do extra things. We got to go on extra field trips. They treated us special. But most of my friends weren't in that group. Most of my friends were either in the middle group or the bottom group.
Yeah.
And so it bothered me, even as a kid.
You noticed that.
Yeah. Even as a child, I felt that. And that feeling in that space, and the things that the adults would say to you in that space, and the ways that the adults treated the children who were at the bottom. And it had an impact on me. And I've always had this sensibility for justice and treating people right. So when I was in the 4th grade, as you probably know, at one point in school, you can get a whooping.
Oh yeah, I remember those days. Okay.
You know, they could take the stick, the rattan as they call it, and turn you up, or take some rulers. And well, when I was in the 4th grade, a law had passed in Missouri ending corporal punishment in school.
Yeah.
And so every school district had to send home a student handbook that listed the corporal punishment policy. It was a yellow handbook. I would carry that book to school like it was a Bible. I would put it on top of my desk every day.
Wow.
So that if the teacher did anything against what was a policy in that book, I would turn to that page.
Oh,
and say,
no.
I was that kid. I was that kid. And so where that came from, I don't know, because neither one of my parents were that way. I don't know if I inherited a gene from an uncle or an aunt somewhere down the line. I was that kid. I was always that kid because I read well. Yeah. I understood everything that I read. And that policy book was important to me because I felt like there were a lot of things happening in that environment that was not fair to children. And I don't think those experiences ever left me, which is why I do the things that I do today.
What is the reaction of the children when they see themselves in these books?
It's overwhelming for me because all I had was an idea. I had a concept and a belief that when Black and brown children have more access to literature that they can relate to, where they can actually see themselves in the stories and in the images, then they become more confident in themselves. And probably more willing to be a reader. That was the idea and the concept that I had. And so I wanted to create an environment where they could have access to that type of literature. Teaching and learning system in our country around public education, and particularly I'm going to talk about just St. Louis, when you go into those classroom settings, the majority of the text that is used to instruct reading and everything else do not tell stories about the Black experience in this country. Neither do they have images of Black children. We know this to be true because the research bears that out.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, the International Literacy Association suggests that less than 6% of the text that is introduced to all children in public education tell stories about Black and brown people and their experiences. Here's the thing. If you are going to a school building, a classroom, first of all, your parents wake you up early in the morning, probably throw you on a bus. It takes you an hour to get to your school. And you get into that building and you are expected to do everything the adults tell you to do and like it. You're not supposed to fight against it. You're supposed to like everything that they have created in that environment for you.
Okay.
But you're in an environment where you don't see yourself. You don't read stories about the people that you know that live down the street from you. You don't read stories about the Black postman that come put the mail in your mailbox. You don't see him in the postman story that you read in the school. And so when you constantly not see yourself, but you're always reading about somebody else's experience, what that does is it renders you invisible. It renders you invisible in the learning process. These are human beings. We are human. We get it. Yeah. And we start to believe that then education is not for us, at least not in this experience. It's not for me because it has no connection to me. So if we know that the research says that less than 6% of the text that's introduced to all children in public education is tell stories about Black and brown people. When a Black child gets into a space where 80% of the text reflects them, that's transformational. That's something you never forget as a kid. For the first time, Black children have been in a space where the majority of the text reflects their experience. Now think about when you were in school.
Yeah.
If you had had that experience, what kind of impact would that have had on you?
More confidence.
Yeah.
Better self-image.
Yes, absolutely. And would have probably encouraged you to want to read.
Sure.
And so when we see kids go into our Believe Project space, in our spaces so far, each one of them have more than 3,500 books, at least 80%, probably more than 80% of the books in those spaces is what we would consider Black children's literature. They're overwhelmed. So we have scholastic book fairs, PBS Kids Through 9 Network, our local PBS station, IKEA, St. Louis, Ready Readers, and We Stories. And they have joined with me to make this project a reality. And it is not to replace what the schools or the districts codified literacy or reading program is. It's not to replace that. Schools should continue in that way. They should continue the explicit reading instruction. This experience is an extra push to ensure that kids become successful readers by the end of their grade year, and particularly third grade.
Julius, would you happen to have any of the books from the Believe Project?
I do. I actually have 4 of them I wanted to share that we featured
Okay.
last summer in our digital episodic series called the Believe Project. So we were able to create a children's-based show that got a lot of great attention. And I wanted
Wait, a TV show?
A TV show, yes. Well, we call it a digital episodic series because
Digital. Oh, that's amazing.
yes, because it was mostly aired on YouTube. So it was aired on 9 Networks, PBS's YouTube channel, the Missouri History Museum's YouTube channel, and St. Louis Black Authors YouTube channel.
Can people still see that? Like if I put a link in the description, can they see it?
Yes, they can actually go to St. Louis Black Authors, and I think it's still on 9 Networks YouTube channel as well.
Okay, I'll be sure and put a link, yeah.
And so these are some of the books that were featured this summer. Rock What You Got by Asia Lastar. It's a great rhyme book that really helps young people to fall in love with themselves and think about the best of themselves. This is a great story. Biz is a whiz, and it was written when the author was in 6th grade, I believe 5th or 6th grade. And he's now in 9th grade.
I interviewed him, you know, Mikey Wren.
Oh, that's right. He was one of your earlier interviews. So this is his book. And this is actually his episode is one of the more popular ones that we did over the summer. Be Yourself by Pamela Hornsby Irvin. Again, another book that encourages you to have confidence in yourself.
Good.
And then finally, Chin Up, Chest Out by Pancho Rucker. You know, that really encourages young males to be the best of who they are. And we're really excited because we just received an award through a national competition that was facilitated by Teach for America. And that award, that award now allows us to create a full season of shows. And so look out for that. For next summer, we're going to be launching our first season of the Believe Project as a digital episodic series.
You know what seems to me, those books that you showed, and I know there are a lot more, they're tying into what you and I both said about our self-image as young kids. All of those books in your book, they're affirming Black children that they are important, that they are visible at such a young age, since there's such a dearth of books. Yeah, so that's great. When you're sitting down with a book, or a kid is sitting down with a book, what's it doing for your spirit? soul, and mind. What is reading doing for you? Give an encouraging word about that, why it's important. What's it doing for you inside?
I think that, and we've heard this before, reading allows you to go to places outside of yourself. And when you read a book, particularly a book that is encouraging you to believe the best about who you are,
Yes.
and to aspire to be and do great things. When you read books like that, and when you read books as a child with images that you connect with, essentially what you're doing is you're connecting with a bigger power, a power that's bigger than you. And what it does is it stirs up this thing that we call motivation and inspiration inside of you.
Okay.
That thing is a good feeling. It's the thing that makes you want to wake up every day and say, I have purpose and promise. It's the thing that makes you want to wake up every day and say, I have a reason for just breathing today. It's the thing that makes you want to wake up every day and be your best and do good. And so those are the kinds of things that we want children to be able to experience, every child. We don't want a child to go into a classroom or school setting or learning setting and feel like they don't belong, or feel disconnected,
right,
or feel not tuned in. And the only way to tune them in is to create an experience that encourages them,
right,
that will allow that. And so there's specific things that we have to do as adults. We have to make sure that the literature that they get does motivate. Yeah. We have to make sure that the experience in the classroom encourages the literature. You know, it allows the literature to speak and be bigger than just the book itself. You know, there's an experience and an environment and an atmosphere we have to create for children. And so when they come into that building, they really will like it. And they really will like the whole idea of walking into that space and feeling real, real good about themselves. And Linda, I know that you can attest to seeing a child who really felt good about themselves at a particular moment.
Yes.
As an adult, there's no greater feeling, if not for me, to see a child that, you know, who felt good about something that they read, you know, and then to take that book. Some kids will read it over and over and over again.
Oh, don't they? They definitely do.
Because the feeling is so good.
Yes.
The feeling is so good. And even though they may not be able to articulate it like I can or have, it really does intuitively say to them or affirm for them, I matter.
You matter.
I have value. I have worth.
Yes, and we know how powerful that is, because here you are, whatever age you are, I'm not going to say that, but you remember that experience of reading that Ezra Jack book.
Yes.
Made of Snow Angel. You remember the book about the goggles.
Yes.
And how that made you feel, that you can identify with that child. And so thank you for sharing about the importance of what reading is doing for a child's spirit, soul, and mind.
Let me end with this. Can I end with one of the poems that I believe that, I wrote?
Great. What a treat.
Yes, that I wrote that I think really motivates and talks about purpose. So I like to read that poem, and it's in my book, Me Templated Affirmations. I'll just show a quick picture. And so I'll read this. Purpose by Julius B. Anthony. Do you want to know what I can do? Do you want to know, am I true? Sit on down. Let this phenomenon show you. I am the hope from yesterday. I am the truth now. I am tomorrow's way. I am purpose. Yes, that's right. Purpose. That's me. I can call answers from the past. I can cook and make it last. I can sing and make the music swing. When I use my mind, I can do anything. I am purpose. Yes, That's right. Purpose. That's me. I am passionate. I am peaceful. I am productive. I am purpose. I am soulful. I am serene. I am selective. I am purpose. Do you want to know who I am? Do you want to know what I can be? Open your eyes, and I know you'll see I am purpose. Yes, that's right. Purpose. That's me.
Oh my goodness, I love that, Julius. You know
Thank
what
you.
word jumped out at me?
What was that?
Selective.
Yes.
Tell me about that, why you chose that word. What does it
I,
mean?
yes, I chose that word because for me, what I want children to get from it is that they can choose and decide the world that they live in around them, in terms of the friends that they choose, in terms of the things that they decide to read, in terms of the things that they like to dress, the things that they like to eat. Be selective, but whatever those things are, make sure that they are things that will feed you good, that will do good things for you and result in good things for you. That's what it means to be selective.
Well,
Yeah.
Julius, thank you so much for spending time with me on Literacy Journeys with Linda. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to my good friend, Mr. Julius B. Anthony, the founder of the St. Louis Black Authors and the Believe Project. If you like listening to these Literacy Journeys with Linda, please hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of my interviews. Thanks, Julius, and
Thank you.
I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.